This is the all-new Ttartisan 56mm F1.8 APS-C Nikon Z mount lens. It has a full frame equivalent of approximately 85mm, and there were quite a few things that did surprise me with this lens. Find out what they are next. Just a quick thank you to the team at Ttartisan for sending me out this lens to test and review, but they aren't paying me to do this video, so any sort of findings or opinions I've got of this lens are all mine. The lens comes in this gift-like box that's well padded, and you get your manual, warranty card, front and rear lens caps, and lens hood. The first impressions of this lens was that it felt really light and weight, and I noticed it had no external buttons or switches, just the external focusing ring for manual focusing. There's a USB-C port in the rear lens cap, which is kind of unusual for updating firmware. That's the first time I've seen that. The lens hood got my interest also. Never seen one like this before, but I'll talk more about that later. As I mentioned, it's an APS-C lens and weighs in at approximately 240 grams. It has a 52mm filter thread and minimum focus distance is 50 centimeters. Lens construction is 10 elements in 9 groups, and it has 9 aperture blades. Focusing between foreground and background subjects was relatively fast, with the ever so slightest whirring noise. Nothing too major though. Eye detect worked no problems with this lens, and for an idea of the type of bokeh you can get in the background with this lens, here's Yoda in the garden going from f1.8 through to f11. I'm going to be testing this lens out on my Nikon Z7. Now, as most of you know, when you put an APS-C lens onto a full frame camera, you miss out on basically just a little over half your megapixels. So that'll give me 20 megapixels. And at the time of making this video, all of Nikon's APS-C cameras are 20 megapixels anyway, so I'm not going to lose out on any sort of resolution. But one thing I did notice with this lens, when I did mount this on my Nikon Z7, it didn't automatically go into DX crop mode like all the other APS-C lenses I've tested in the past. I had to physically go into the menu and change both photo and video into DX mode. It's not so much of a con, it's more of a heads up if you were going to be using this lens on a Nikon Z mount full frame camera for whatever reason. I mean, at the end of the day, it is an APS-C lens. It's supposed to be used on things like the Z30, the Z50, and the ZFC. So, naughty me. That being said, here are some sharpness tests results using the Ttartisan 56mm F1.8 Nikon Z mount lens. This is our first test shot with the Ttartisan's 56mm F1.8 wide open at f1.8. Now, when we push into the middle, let me just push in here, that's not a bad result at f1.8. It is quite sharp. Let's go into the corners. Again, very good, nice and sharp. Just a little tiny bit of softness in the far bottom left corner, but all over, this is very good for a lens that's $158 US. In fact, you know, this is very close to one of the sharpest budget lenses I've tested on my channel. I'm going to go up into the right corner. Yeah, again, that's pretty darn good. Even just in that far right corner, it's just a little bit soft. But wow, these are very impressive, even wide open at f1.8. Let's go to f2.8. Very sharp in the middle. Even on this little purple strip here, you can see the individual dots of the print on the test chart. That is extremely good. Let's go down to the bottom left corner. Yeah, wow. That is very good. Such good results even at f2.8 up in the top right. Again, very good. So this is at f4. This is the full screen shot. Let's push into the middle. I can see dots on the print of the test chart. I can't believe it. $158 US down in the bottom. Oh, wow. Bottom corner of the left. Again, very good. I can see individual dots. You'll see on that little bit of a brown square at the top there, individual dots on the brown. That's up in the top right corner. You know, that honestly did surprise me. Wide open at f1.8, this lens performed extremely well. And then when you go down to f2.8, it gets so much better. That is really good news if you are a Nikon Z30, a Z50, or a ZFC owner, especially at the price point of this lens. So I ended up taking this lens out into the field to a couple of different locations. So here is a montage in both stills and video using this Ttartisan 56mm F1.8 APS-C Nikon Z mount lens. The pros for me on this lens, well, it was very sharp in image quality for the low budget price of just $158 US. With the full frame equivalent of approximately 85mm, this lens was excellent for portraits, even wide open at f1.8. Also, if you like a bit of sweet bokeh in your images, then this lens delivers nicely. It was compact and light in weight and very easy to use. The focus ring turned smoothly and focusing was quick to acquire. The cons, well, just a couple of minor ones. While I liked the design of the lens hood to keep away any sort of lens flare, it wouldn't allow me to put on the lens cap while the lens hood was on. So taking the lens hood off continually to put the lens cap on was a bit inconvenient. Also, it means that lens hood could go missing in action at some stage, since I couldn't store it on the lens with the lens cap on. But above all, the pros did outweigh the cons for me when it comes to this Ttartisan's 56mm f1.8 APS-C Nikon Z mount lens. The image quality, especially for the price, was very good. Anyway, if you want any more information on this lens, I've left you a link in the video description box below. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. Thank you so much for watching. As I always say, never stop creating. And I'll see you next time.